Well, good morning, Reece. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm fantastic as well. And I'm super, super excited to be chatting to you all things mental health, mental well-being, and yeah, the impact that we have in our lives and on everyone else, like just all things, yep, life. So thank you. Thank you, firstly, for jumping on with me and giving me the time to look at your life and, so that people can get a bit of a snapshot of what you've experienced in your life and where it's led you. As you know, a little bit about my background. My father, grandfather, and brother have all chosen to take their lives. So for me, that's what's driving me to get into especially men's minds and help, I don't know, like let's just find out and get to the root cause of what's going on, because it's not just one thing. It's not a one shoe fits all thing, like, and I totally understand that. So I want to get into the guts of it and find out what's been, what's going on, what leads us to those moments in time. How did you navigate those sort of things moving through your life? So I'm going to hand it over to you. So in regards to like your mental health, do you remember parts of your life that you were challenged, especially earlier on, childhood, all that sort of thing that you challenged? And from when did that start, if that was the case, and where did it lead to?
Yeah, well, I guess I don't really remember much of my childhood, to be honest, which is a little bit sad because there must have been quite a few good memories, in the past, but there was also a lot of pretty shitty memories and, just memories that I still remember to this day that obviously have helped me in some way, shape or form. But, growing up, I always knew I was a little bit different in, emotionally. Like, I never really knew how to navigate my emotions. And being in a house with, my parents obviously doing the best they could with the tools on offer back then, some 35 years ago,
Mm.
I there was no real mental stability, emotional stability in our house. Because my mother, she suffered from, still suffers to this day from depression, anxiety, you name it, she's got it. And I believe now that she has learned to navigate a lot better through life now. But there was no, during my childhood, there was no real, it was always major highs or major lows. There was no real, uh, equality within the emotions. And my dad, he come from a background, come off the land. I think, I'm pretty sure, gathering from how he acts and still acts to this day about his emotions. There could be some other underlying issue that I have spoken to my sister about, but the inability to feel emotion, or the inability to know what to do in that particular, when that particular emotion sets in. I think there could be something there, but he never really was emotionally available as a father. It's
Mm.
just toughen up. And I can remember, I can't remember how old I was, but it was at my great grandfather's funeral, who I was very, very close to. I was told to sometimes you just got to harden up a bit at a funeral, and that was pretty hard to take, especially, and I remember it very, very clearly. But going through life in my, in my early teens, struggling with a little bit of bullying, I guess, because I'm a pretty big guy, I still am to this day. And not knowing back then that it helped me majorly, now in my life, as to, what I do now. But, the bullying, going through that and not really knowing how to navigate through that time, was always stuck in like a fight or flight mode. And I really, just, I got told I got told a lot, but asked the question, why are you so angry, Reece? Why are you so angry? And I didn't think I was angry at the time, but being stuck in that fight or flight mode, I was just ready to snap.
Yeah.
And just, I didn't know why. I never really had any control over that. And especially when you start to mix alcohol in with that, and then that's when it really come out,
Yeah.
which, so I guess. And now I haven't had a drink for, oh geez, I'm going to say 15 months.
Yeah. Wow. Cool.
All. So, there was a time there where, a couple of health issues, and it sort of really made me take a step back and have a look at what I was doing. And
Yeah.
it's been 15 months sober now, which I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, good job. Good job. Yeah, it seems that, from an early age, that's why I sort of said, well, let's go right back. Let's go right back. Because, you and I have done a lot of work on ourselves. We understand how the brain works. But back when we're little, we program from such an early age from things like, suck it up, you can't show emotions, or the silent treatment, or whatever, and that drives particular behaviors. And then it's really, we don't know until we know, right? And then what I've found is that generally there's something substantial that happens, and you get the opportunity then to change those beliefs or look at things differently and be a bit more open-minded. But again, if you don't have you're not in the right environment, or you don't have the right people around you, or you're not driven in that way, or you're so shut down, it's like this lost little child, like, where do I go? Where do I go? And I think definitely from my experience, that's where I was for a very long time. Although there was some innate knowing that there was more, that, and what I do know now and what you know is that as our voids from our past. So all those things actually create our values and our priorities in life, so it's just where you take them and what you do with that. So tell me, like, as a teenager, you were challenged and stuff. So you were angry, but didn't know how to deal with that, like, which led to what?
I guess it led to probably an eating disorder. I guess,
Mm-hmm.
And something like I can still struggle with it today when I'm bored or not knowing. I just tend to eat a little bit more than I should, or put things in my mouth that don't are not necessarily that healthy for me. But getting back to, like you said about the child, like we. Our parents, and I come from an era, you come from an era where the kids are to be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
All the parents we're having a barbecue. Usually that's what usually happens. The parents are having a barbecue, drinking, smoking, whatever they do, and we're told to suppress our emotions by being seen and not being heard, not being seen, not being heard. We look at our parents and see them drinking and having a good time, and then that's how we deal with life. That's how we think we should have to deal with life, which is far from the truth. But
yeah, and even back then, I'm just, my mind just went back to the generations previous, like that. They were sent to an asylum, like definitely a few family members, because they were not mentally stable, were sent to Goulburn here. I can't think of the name of it right now, it'll lose me. And then they had shock treatment, they had all these different things, and that, I suppose, I don't know, I haven't gone that far back on that side of things, but that was the done thing, because maybe they thought that was working, but it actually was, putting more stress on those people, and then they had other disorders that come from that. So, I love that now we know more about the brain and the impacts, whether it be environmental, physical, whatever, chemical, whatever it is, impacts us at so many different levels, but they didn't know that back then. And I don't know that they even got to talk about it. I don't know that there was even a lot of talk therapy back then. But I'm just again reflecting on the stories that I've heard from other family members about my family members. So it is good. It is good that we are starting to know more. We're encouraging different things in society, but having a conversation with Shane yesterday about the Are You Okay days, etc., all that. They're great for awareness. Although if you don't know how to navigate a conversation, then, are you even going to ask?
Yeah, that's true.
I know that there's a lot more coming, out there, as I mentioned, mental health first aid, which is beautiful. I did my facilitators course in that, although it just didn't quite resonate for me because I feel like we're still jumping and hopping around the actual root cause. And, we know these things consciously, but at an unconscious level, if you're challenged with depression, anxiety, whatever, there's some sort of charge there that you haven't seen the other side. And normally the benefits of that situation, and I know people are going to go like, well, there's some things that there's just no benefits of or gains out of, but there actually is. And the more we can get that out there and be able to navigate people's emotions and help them understand that, I think that's the thing.
That's right. Because I mean, like we do know what is going on, because you can't have peace without war, because
that's it.
Love without hate. If you feel a certain way, you've got to be able to feel the opposite.
Yes, that's correct.
How do we know what it is?
Yeah, that's correct. How do you know happy unless you know sad?
That's right.
And I think, going back to what you were saying about your childhood being shut down and all that sort of thing, even the silence thing, I believe that, it's like you sit in the corner, don't speak, don't do this, don't do that, or just ignore them if they're having a tantrum. Well, how do they even, like as in children, how do they even know that they're angry if we don't tell them or ask them that question so they can put, I'm not into labels, as we, although, sorry, I'm not into owning a label. I'm into labels, being able to define something, but not sitting in it. So just helping children in particular, or anyone, okay, so you are angry. This is a reaction that's normal, and then help them navigate it.
That's
so hopefully
that's something that I've definitely been aware with my daughter. Like my growth really came, I suppose, October 2018.
Yeah.
When we moved from the Lockyer Valley, and I grew up in the Lockyer Valley. I've moved there. We moved from the Lockyer Valley to the Sunshine Coast, and my daughter, she started prep, so she was only 4 or 5.
Yep.
And not being aware of my emotions and what I was actually doing, trying to, and there must have been some very, very traumatic times for her being around me. There's no, I guess, in my wife, it was emotional abuse. I put it through emotional abuse. She started with. It wasn't too long after we moved up there, from the drinking and stuff. I was still drinking, a binge drinker, I guess. On the weekends I'd get into it and just drink everything in the fridge. And sometimes I would become verbally abusive if I'd had too much. And there was a lot of drug use as well, which I'm not proud of, but it helped me get me through at the time. But until I found other ways to navigate life.
Yes.
But getting back to the emotional abuse I must have put him through it was pretty traumatic time for him, and even to the fact where my wife started on a bit of a lifestyle change, and then she inspired me to start changing my life and becoming a healthier version of me as well. And I was starting to work out and, live a lifestyle for all the wrong reasons, because, when you start to look after yourself and start to exercise, it comes change, not actually internal, but, physically, physical change. And then you get a lot more attention from obviously the opposite sex. Anyway,
Yeah.
I didn't really know. I made a choice and I went outside the marriage, and it was early October 2018 when, I told my wife everything what was going on, and wasn't proud of it, but it just, I had to go through that. I had to go through that. We went on a cruise. We had a book before everything, went spiraled downward. We had a 2018, 2019 for Christmas, and it was, look, I say to people that I wouldn't go on. I hated the cruise, but maybe that was because of our mindset and where our marriage was at that point in time.
Yeah.
We come back, and it was early, maybe April 2018, where she said, "No, I'm done. That's fine. I'm done." And it was early 2018 when I finally started to seek help. Now, I sought help before this through psychologists and
Yep.
a couple of different organisations within the construction industry too, which
Yeah.
did help, but they never really offered life tools, like
Yeah.
tools for
Yeah.
life.
Definitely we need to
Yeah,
go back to that, but I'm going to let you finish
yeah,
this. Yeah.
yeah. So, they told me it was okay to feel this way. It's okay to feel this way. It is okay
Yeah.
okay to feel this way, but why am I feeling this? How do I stop
Yeah.
feeling like this?
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I didn't know. Anyway, my sister put me on to one of a mentor of mine. I still class him as a friend. I don't speak to him that often. We do
Yep.
still talk, but I class him as a very, very dear friend. He saved my life.
Mm.
And I had to pay for this coaching, to learn these life skills.
Yeah.
And it took, it took, I guess, 3 years to really overcome my struggles with my emotions, struggles with my mindset. I mean, I was fit and healthy on the outside, but it took 2 to 3 years to really get fit and healthy in my mind and my mindset and
Yeah.
within my emotions and how I was feeling. But we're still married. There was a choice there. So there was a shift where we
Mm.
had the house in the market. We were sitting down and typing up letters as to who got what,
Yeah.
and trying to keep it as amicable as possible. I can still remember sitting down on the couch with my wife and telling my daughter that we're separating. That was pretty. That was quite confronting and quite upsetting. But there was after that, after sitting down and going through our assets, and there was just a shift.
Mm.
So we were living our separate lives, and taking care of our daughter separately as well.
Yep.
Separate weekends. So just living under the same roof, but it was quite challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, super. Well, thank you for being so vulnerable and real and raw about it, because, you know, I've done a lot of things that I'm not extremely proud of either. Although by taking ownership of it, that's when you can make the difference.
Mm. That's
Like,
exactly right.
yeah, there's no gain without a loss, or a loss without a gain. So, if you're sitting in shame and guilt, it's because you're not seeing the benefits to not just you, but to all those people around you. And the outcome for you says it all. So you took ownership of what was going on. And I think, sadly, a lot of people, in particular guys, because they've never been, told that it's okay to share, be vulnerable, but also, again, something that we were talking about yesterday was that if you get angry, then you beat yourself down, and then you'll react again, and then because you don't know how to fix it or express whatever, so you beat yourself. It's just this compilation, this continual, like suppression, and then it's like the explosion, right? So I see that whether it be in the workplace or in the family dynamics, whatever, it's just really, really sad. So that's what, I don't know, these conversations, hopefully we'll be able to get them out there and help guys, again, in particular, or their families understand that it's not the end. There's things that you can do. We don't want people to stay in their stories, because that just becomes who they are. And I've definitely been there before, and I know that you probably have as well. Although we want to be able to let go and just see the gains out of it, so we can move forward and make a difference and be authentic and be who we're meant to be, whoever that is.
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit to the workplace, because that's a really big thing, I think. How did you find it when you were challenged? Because you're a plumber, you're a tradie,
Yes.
been in the industry forever, no doubt. So, and yeah, so there's a lot of numbing, and look, I've had my fair share.
Yeah.
In the construction industry, I used to be part of a business, concreting. So I've been there. I've been on the job sites. I've definitely been in the guts of it. And so yeah, what was it like for you there?
Well, I'm
What
still
did you
there.
see? What did you feel? Like, what did you experience being that guy?
Well, I'm gonna have to tread carefully here, because I don't know who's listening. I don't know who will listen to this that I may be working with today. So now, I hated my trade. I really, really didn't like it, because I was sort of I was sort of forced into it, I guess. I wanted to do other things with my life, but I was told that if I was told by my parents that I needed a trade or go back to school.
Yeah.
And my dad's a plumber, so I did my apprenticeship through him, and
Yeah.
And I'm very, very, very grateful for him to put me through my time. But I worked with him for 7 years, and then obviously left and broadened my own horizon. But with different companies, different businesses, different skills,
Yeah.
and with coming into contact with other tradies, there's one person in particular that comes to mind, and it's quite sad, to be honest, because coming from an older generation, it's how much can you drink? I've been told, quite recently that, oh, I'll come up and have a beer if you want to have some fun.
Yeah.
And it's quite, it upsets me quite a lot. There's nothing wrong with having a drink. I don't begrudge anybody who does want to have a drink.
Yeah.
But when you ride yourself off on a night, and when you're mixing drinks that are so strong that taste terrible, there has to be something wrong.
Yeah.
There's got to
for
be
sure.
something wrong. And I've had conversations around this, and there's just that much past trauma. Not my job to fix it. It's just I'm just there to listen and just without judgment.
Yeah.
Without judgment. And that's the hardest thing for me to do, is without judgment. I mean, until you can walk in my shoes, then I'll permit you to judge. And that goes the same with everything. But being in the construction industry, it's starting to get a little bit better.
Yeah.
Starting to get a little bit better with talking about our emotions. Last year, I did the push-up challenge.
Yep.
And on the site, it was on site, the job site that I'm on at the moment. I work away during the week. It's quite tough on my family. It's quite tough on myself, because the living arrangements we have back out at work it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
And to be told, like I said, come up and have a beer if you want to have some fun.
Mm.
That's not my idea of fun anymore. My idea
Yeah.
is to say no and to live life how I want to live on my terms,
Yeah.
and not to be the majority.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the majority do. It's hard to be different.
So there would have been times that back in the day before 2018 that you would have probably gone, yep, I need a release. I'm with you.
Well,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. Well,
Yeah.
what actually happened too, we had COVID come in 2020.
Mm.
I lost my job due to COVID, and it couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah.
I pre-COVID, I really had my trade. I wanted to get out, looking for other avenues to explore, to be my ticket out.
Yeah.
It is still a goal to get out of the trade,
Yeah.
but I'm enjoying it. I really am
Mm.
enjoying it.
And tell me, I know what you did in 2020, but let's tell the people what you did, just briefly, and why you're now enjoying your trade more. Because I think I know. I
Well,
loved it.
the getting made redundant in 2020. I mean, the government were offering job seeker, job keeper, allowances or support,
Yes. Yeah.
and I got to be a stay-at-home dad for it was 6 months. 6 months I got to be a stay-at-home dad, and my daughter going to school. I was homeschooling her. We were spending so much time together. It was great. It was the connection that we received, and working on myself sort of from early 2019 still to this day,
Mm.
and really starting to get into the personal development world.
Yeah.
I was able to connect with my daughter on a much deeper level,
Mm.
and try and start undoing some of the trauma that unconsciously putting her through from when she was born
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the age of 10 years old.
Yeah.
Now, it's great to be able to witness that journey with her and try and help her through struggling times, and not to say to her, you need to be seen and not heard, because she's such an out there child. She likes to express herself so much. She's got lots and lots and lots of friends. She can talk to anybody.
Mm.
I think
And
that's,
beautiful.
yeah, it's great to see.
I just want to jump in. Because we beat ourselves down because we put, excuse me, put ourselves down, and I'm generalizing here because I same but different, and think that what we've put someone through or what they've experienced because of our actions or reactions is bad. But it's not good or bad, because your daughter is who she is now because of her experiences, and then that will probably lead her to make a difference in that area of life because of what she has experienced. And also you're leading by example, because in all that time you were able to study, you were able to do more work on yourself, which ultimately is the ripple effect that you've had on your family. And I know Trudy, and she's done a lot of work on herself. So you guys are just incredible. So that gave you the opportunity to do that, to find out more, give you more tools. And now you're back at work. I mean, wow.
Yeah. Look, I we were able to put our a lot of our payments on hold due to COVID, and then once reality started to kick back in, I the gym that I was going to at the time, lady there who she was a manager of one of the resorts, one of the big resorts up here on the in Calandra,
Mm.
and I just asked if she had any work. And for 6 months, I worked at a resort, like right on the beach, and it was the best job, one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life,
Yeah.
hands down. But there was a sacrifice with that. Obviously the amount of money that I was getting paid a fortnight wasn't exactly cutting it. So you know, my wife and I, we had a bit of a conversation. She said, "Oh, I think you need to go back to your trade just so that we don't lose the house and whatever." And I said, reluctantly, I said, okay. And I made a couple of phone calls, and within a week, I was back on one of the biggest construction jobs in Brisbane at the time.
Yep.
And, you know, going from $1,200 a fortnight to just a bit over $2,000 a week, you know, it was good. It was got us out of the shit quite quickly.
Yeah.
And, you know, now that I'm working away, I realised that time that I had off to spend with my daughter and, you know, to work on myself, that, you know, money doesn't buy happiness. I don't chase them. I'm not chasing the money as
Yeah.
the dollar value. I'm chasing the money. I'm chasing the freedom that comes with earning that amount of money.
Yeah, because it's linked, you know, your family's such high value now.
Yeah,
Not
right.
well, I'm sure at times they weren't, and that's okay. Doesn't mean you love someone less because they're not a high priority.
That's right.
Although the time off gave you an opportunity to actually understand at a core level what your highest priorities are. And if we, you know, going to work and earning that money, it might not be that finances are a high value. It's just that you linked it to your family and what you can do with the family that is, you know, the end result for you, you know, by being in the position of being able to help earn that sort of money.
It all comes back to to finding out why. It all comes back to the why, you know.
Yes, it does.
I pre-October 2018, I never had a why as to why I exercised, as to why I changed my lifestyle. But, you know, now I do. Now I do know why I do it. And
so even when you know, like, we need something to remind us, you know, because we can just get on the treadmill of life.
Yes.
And get stuff done, but why are we doing it? And I really think it's really great to go back to that. Why am I doing this? Hence the reason I'm doing this.
Yes.
You know, I was on the treadmill and it was like someone reminded me of my why, because my dad worked in a factory environment. He was bullied, which led to he suffered severely from mental health issues for a very, very long time. And this one time was just enough. He started work by himself then, although other things happened and he just spiraled down and was never to come back again this time. I think he was so exhausted and then he chose to take his life.
Yes.
So now you're able, and I know that, is it EPAs and stuff? I know that big companies in particular have all that sort of stuff. It's really interesting to get the feedback on that, because I was speaking to Shane and he said, you know, it sort of doesn't really work.
It doesn't. I really agree with that.
But I had to take a step back and go, we have to start somewhere. And if that somewhere's that, to plant some seeds, and it may be like for you, that maybe planted seeds, and then, you know, you felt that the coaching, because maybe it was a bit more real and got you out of your story, worked for you. I had to go back to that, you know, because it's when we're coaches, as a coach, it's challenging going, oh, I can just help you through that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not my job to fix anyone if they're not willing, and nothing's broken anyway. But it's like remembering where I was, and I had to go through that process through psychologists, psychiatrists to get to where I am. So it was definitely a process. So I feel like it's something, but there's something still not right.
No, there isn't. I think, and my experience within the construction industry, like you say, it's slowly getting better, but men still aren't willing to talk about their emotions.
Yeah.
I guess my purpose, you know, it goes something like to help men through life's toughest battles while living their best life, you know. So it's but we have a lot of social media around now where we just unconsciously scrolling and look at how other people are doing. But
Yeah.
are they really
Hmm.
living like that 100% of the time?
Well, we know not. And we know that. And this is, you're saying like the drugs and the alcohol and stuff, and I still love a wine. Don't you worry about that. But I had a massive issue with drinking as well for quite a few years because of the numbing, and that was my far from proud time of parenting, although it was at the time all I could do to get through a day because it didn't hurt anymore.
Yes.
I got to 90 odd kilos. I was drinking, I was on antidepressants. So I was numbing from 3 different areas.
Yes.
And it was far from my proudest moments. Although in reflection, being able to take the shame and guilt away from that and being able to influence and impact other lives. And even though I feel like, oh, my poor children are scarred, I can also see how that has been a benefit to them and how they navigate their life, whatever that looks like for them. And I couldn't be more prouder. And I know that they wouldn't, for instance, be who they are and have accomplished such incredible things at such young ages, even with their challenges. They wouldn't have done that if they hadn't have witnessed what they did. And I wouldn't be doing what I do, and you wouldn't be doing what you do if we hadn't have experienced that. So, but the more we beat ourselves down, the more we are unable to make a difference and be authentic.
One of the biggest things that I have learned over the past few years is how to say no.
Yeah.
And being okay with saying no, because I get a great amount of pleasure in saying no to things that don't serve me. And the only drug we get questions for not taking is alcohol. And I get great pleasure in saying no. But don't get me wrong, I'm not limiting myself to not drinking. I'm waiting for my nephews who are both over 18 to get together with them, and I would share a beer with them. I would
for a reason. Yeah. I think and when we are numbing it, like for me, when I see that, because I've experienced it and I've witnessed in particular my son experience it, it is a numbing. So I do my best not to judge, because whoever they are on the streets or whatever it is, are doing it because there's some part of their life they don't really want to look at or deal with, and that's what, again, why I do what I do.
Yes.
To help like them get to the root cause, and it doesn't have to be drugs, alcohol. It can be the gym, it can be eating, it can be sex, it can, it can be sugar.
Yes.
And there's reasons
for
all that, if we want to go into the psychosomatics, which is just another conversation for another day. But so if we go back, you coming out of COVID with all these new tools and the experiences you've had, what are you seeing and what impact, because I know you will be, just from planting seeds, impact are you having in the workplace now? Because just a pre-convo we had was, even though you're not coaching as such in that sort of space, you are making, I just heard in those couple of words, you're making a bigger difference in the real world by what you can contribute after that time. So tell me a little bit about that.
Just not having as much anger anymore.
Yeah.
Knowing that I can turn on that anger switch whenever I need it. Like there was one good experience I had, and I said yes to this particular thing, and it was like just a spur of the moment thing. I will tell you what it was, but it was about 3 weeks out. I said yes, and then for the first 2-3 nights, really leading up to, for the first 2-3 nights after saying yes, I really had some mental there a lot of shit going on in my mind.
Yep.
So I had to do some journaling and write out quite a few things as to, just to bring my mind back into balance.
Mm.
And then 2-3 days out, same thing happened. Anyway, I realised I could use anger to amplify the experience of jumping out of a plane, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. And adrenaline's a free drug.
Yeah.
It was so good, hands down, best thing I've ever done. And to be
Nice.
able to feel the anger within me to succeed, because I was the first out of the plane, because I think I was the heaviest in the group, so I had to be on the ground first, so I didn't come through and hit anybody else in the way.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and that really amplified the experience. But in the workplace now, I really feel it's my calmness.
Yes.
Really, that I see a lot of blokes around me that are blowing up about this and blowing about that. When it comes back to let go of the control, there's nothing you can do about it. Move on.
Mm.
And we need to draw a circle and write down all the things we can control in that circle, and then write down all the things we can't outside of that circle.
Mm.
And really pinpoint that focus, what's going on in that inside that circle.
Yeah. So with you saying that, would you find that would be like, because how do we address the issues in these big workplaces? In particular, is it doing something like that? Because you're the second person in 2 days to say, because the second person I've talked to in this environment,
Yes.
that talking doesn't make the difference. What can we do that is thinking outside the box, rather than, because also, do toolboxes, that was a question I asked yesterday, do toolbox meetings work? Because from what I've seen is like, because I worked with a company and we went in interviewed quite a few of the employees, maybe 20 odd. And it was so amazing for these guys to come in and speak to 3 women, like an interview type scenario. They all spoke so freely and so passionately when they were asked, what do you love? What do you need from us? What do you want this, what do you want to happen? And a lot of it, the feedback was, I want to be, like, basically my words and a summary, I want to be heard and I want to be seen, and I want, I felt also they wanted to know that they were doing something important, even though it may have been a monotonous job. So that's what I felt, that's what I've seen by having the opportunity to do that. But what about you? What do you say to that? What do you say about where you are?
That's a really, really tough question, Lisa, because
I know, but this is what we've got to get to.
In the construction industry, the PCBU, which is the primary builder, the primary contractor, all they care about is productivity.
Yeah.
And they are putting little steps in place to have these little organizations internally for your mental health.
Yeah.
We get mental, well, it's personal leave days now. We can take a mental health day if we need it. Which comes out of your sick leave, which is fine.
Yeah.
Continuing to raise awareness around, it's okay not to be okay, but it's okay to talk as well. I think within the construction industry, it's going to take some time. It's going to take a long, long time to change, and it's about people that are willing to put their hands up and take ownership of their lives. That's what's going to make the difference.
Yeah,
I have my flaws. Honestly, I do, and I still do today. I'm not perfect.
What? Because you're human? Oh, hang on.
That's what I was just going to say. That's what makes me human. But I got a couple of guys ever since I started working away, which was September 2021. Coming from a lifestyle where I was exercising 5 to 6 days a week, and then in a CrossFit gym and going to an area where, there wasn't much choice for gyms. So I had to, it took me a good 12 months to get into a routine and to find a gym that I feel quite comfortable with, which is shout out to Lockie Valley Fitness. They're a small gym, but it's what aligns with my exercise and health goals. But
yeah,
it took me a long time, and I've inspired two of my workmates to come along with me. And one of the guys I live in the house with, and he's changed his ways right from New Year's, and it's good to see. And I'm sort of just by dropping those little seeds,
yes,
and that's all you can do. It's just drop the little seeds and just have conversations with people, because some of them just get so angry over the littlest silliest things, and they just so much time wasted on just things that don't matter. Like,
yeah, and I think that goes back to what I said a bit earlier about the whole, even if you look at road rage, it's not what happened on the road. It's not what happened when you kicked the toe. It's not what happened when you got your finger jammed. It's the compilation of all those things that happened prior,
that's right.
from the fight with the wife and the guilt around that, and then the yelling at your kids, and then the guilt around that, and then missing a phone call because something, like all of that, and then not taking the time to acknowledge all those
Yes.
and have a conversation around it. And then that the straw that breaks the camel's back, boom, like there's the explosion. So it's this push, 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 push. And what I've witnessed is it goes right back. It goes right back. For you, it goes back to, Dad, don't you show emotion at that funeral. Don't you dare open your mouth.
Yes.
Sit down. Don't, but why? Because we've never had, and we're never going to get it right all the time. We're just not, because we all have a different perception on different experiences. And I think that is, and there's no one thing that's going to fix everything. And I think anyone that thinks that is going to be really disappointed. I sat with the mental health ministers from New South Wales, ACT, Are You OK Day CEO, Headspace CEO, the mustache, Movember CEO, all there in this talk in my little country town. And I just saw at the last minute that the Rotary kids put together and had all these people, like, and the local, person, whatever they're called. And there's things happening out there. I feel like a lot of people think that nothing's happening. There's a lot of things happening, in our correctional systems and all, like there's so much happening, but there's not one thing that's going to fix it all. So, this, for me, it's like, how do we navigate this? What are some of the steps that we can put in? And in particular with you guys at the construction sites or those big, big companies, yeah. So for me, like someone said, "Wow, big job, yeah."
Well,
but we've got to start somewhere.
That's right. And I've tried a lot of different modalities, and I think at the end of the day, it comes down to that individual, what they're prepared to do and what they what works for them.
Yeah.
And just while being honest with themselves and those around them, be vulnerable, tell your stories. It's, and also be careful who you follow on social media.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I think just be careful who you follow on social media, because come COVID, there was a lot of people out there that, and then this is one of the reasons why I stopped like on online presence, because I couldn't be that person 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I couldn't portray, because I still lose my shit.
Oh, and the thing is, we we have emotions because they're part of who we are, right? So you're not supposed to not have them.
That's right.
And they serve particular, like you said, like you brought up all that anger and like aggression, whatever, to get out that plane. They, you know, sometimes you just got to let yourself lose your shit and
That's
be
right.
sad and get angry, but acknowledge it. But we just don't want to sit there. Yes. And we want to know how for me, it's like helping people navigate that.
And it's like, you know, my daughter's been, I think she's it's good for her because, you know, she struggles with numbers at school and she gets so worked up about it. And I just tell her, you know, I failed maths. I was, you know, I've worked out how to get through life now without it. But, you know, seeing her and just letting those emotions flow through her and telling her it's okay, supporting her where she's at, while
Yes.
also, you know, trying to support her, really focus on what are her strengths instead of, you know, what she's not,
Yes.
what she's struggling with.
You know, the one tackle you missed, not the 14 you got, the one
That's right.
goal you got, you know, like missed, and the 20 odd that you, whatever it might be. Yeah, absolutely. I am guilty for doing all of that.
I
But
think as
now
men too, as men, like, you know, well, I still am today, but I've sort of learned to let it go. You know, perfectionism within ourselves, you know, it's you know, it's perfectly imperfect. You know, it's let's let the perfection go as well. That's
because and you know, we were just talking about a bit earlier in a conversation I had, learning to laugh at yourself. You know, like for doing dumb stuff, you know, which is not dumb, but you know, just yeah. So this has been super inspiring. We could talk all day. We could really, because there's so much of your story that I would love to get more in the guts of, you know, and that, you know, time is of an essence. So thank you. And I just want to, you know, the seemingly insignificant things are the things that make the difference.
That's right.
So for anyone listening to this or wherever this goes, it's like one, and we do say, you know, one step at a time, and it is just one step at a time. And don't think you're going backwards if you seem to be going backwards, because, you know, you're able to navigate that step again, maybe place yourself in a better position, whatever that looks like. Yeah. And, but for me, this is about getting some stories of guys, where they've been, what was their experiences, how can we change or address, because, you know, again, nothing's really broken, but how can we navigate, how can we address the challenges that are coming up in particular? You know, what are we doing that's not really getting to the guts of it? What do we need to address?
Yeah, that is the question which with each individual person.
Yes, because it is individual. And I think a big thing I just want to say before we finish up, I know for me, even I'm not a boy, but I've definitely had my challenges with a my mental health. And I was in the psych ward for a little bit, you know, and making massive, I was a day patient there, which was one of my greatest experiences, I might add. Making the changes there, but then going back to the same environment. Once I'd finished, I just went back into the old patterns. So that's a really, really big thing too for anyone, you know, like, and being brave enough to maybe take yourself out of those environments. I definitely wasn't at that time, because I thought, who knows what I thought. I could probably go there, but it would take another hour.
Yeah.
But definitely that's a big thing, which just came to mind, you know. So and for you saying, oh, you're back in that environment of that whole tradie thing where it's not great, but you've got different tools now to be able to navigate that, where prior you were probably sucked into the void of, yeah, no worries, let's have some fun, let's get on the drugs, let's get on the grog, whatever it looked like. Yeah, so I think if you have the tools, you can navigate it a little better. But if you don't, then we can get sucked back into that void.
It's easily done.
Yeah.
It's for me, it was a case of changing my environment, but changing internally first.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot to be said for that.
And like you said, it's a whole another hour.
Oh yeah, plus more. Yeah. Well, thank you, Reece. I'm so appreciative of your time.
My
Firstly,
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's been incredible. It's been incredible. So I look forward to seeing everyone in the next interview or chat with another incredible human.
Cool.
All right. Thanks again, Reece.
Okay.
Bye.
See you, mate. Bye.